And unfortunately, the dynamic, and this is not emotional, this is not conspiratorial. This is just a plain statement of economic fact. The best possible thing economically for the pharmaceutical industry is for a kid to get metabolically unhealthy and get metabolically unhealthy early, because then you've got them, they're popping out statins like crazy now in high schools. They're popping out SSRIs like crazy. They're popping out Adderall like crazy. Now, of course, the American Academy of Pediatrics, we can get more into this, but the American Academy of Pediatrics is aggressively saying that Ozempic needs to be the frontline defense for 12-year-olds, that not after dietary
That is a
interventions
criminal
fail.
organization, the American Academy of Pediatrics. Because doctors actually believe them, so they're extremely dangerous. And the doctors don't know that they just work for the pharmaceutical companies and
It's
they
a
work
huge,
for the food industry. And
it's a
to
huge
explain
problem.
explain how that works.
Well, I'll take it to when I was an early in my career consultant for the food and pharma industry. The American Academy of Pediatrics actually did partnerships with Coke. You wouldn't even believe this, but the American Diabetes Association took millions of dollars from Coke. I helped funnel it. Diabetes, which is literally caused by the weapon of mass destruction for blood sugar issues, liquid sugar. They didn't denounce Coke. They took money from them. So these groups are pay to play, pharma subsidiaries. That'd be fine, I guess. But the problem is they have statutory authority in the United States, quasi-governmental authority, to make the standard of care. So if you're a doctor and you go against the recommendation of the American Academy of Pediatrics, you could lose your license. If you go against the guidance of the American Diabetes Association, you could lose your license. As Robert Lustig, a former hormone disorder leader at UCSF, has pointed out, the American Diabetes Association until 2018 did not have dietary recommendations whatsoever for diabetics as long as they took their medications. They said you can continue eating as much sugar as you want as long as you took your medications up until 2018 when they were shamed to adjust that slightly. So these groups fundamentally are organisms of pharma, which are fundamentally incentivized for more people to get diabetes, for more people to get heart disease, for more people to become obese, for more kids to be sick. That's just a raw statement of economic fact. And the thing we need to unwind, and I know you're going to unwind, is these groups cannot be trusted to create the standard of care. That is why, right, the first line defense for chronic conditions for kids is a prescription pad. It's not getting that kid on or incentivizing, right, or using the $4.5 trillion we spend on healthcare to actually incentivize that kid to exercise, to fix our broken food system that's jamming poison down that kid's throat and destroying their microbiome and leading, an average kid to have a 65% of their diet ultra-processed food. The American Academy of Pediatrics is not speaking out about that. They're not speaking out about the rise of ultra-processed food and, frankly, the poisoning, and I would actually call it genocide, of our younger generation. They're not denouncing Coke when I worked for Coke, 12 years ago to rig the food stamp program to make Coke the number one item bought on food stamps, SNAP, the program that 15% of lower income Americans depend on. There was not a word from the American Academy of Pediatrics on that. But now, because their main funder, or one of them, is Novo Nordisk, the most valuable company in Europe, a Danish company that is the maker of Ozempic, the weight loss cure, because they funded the American Academy of Pediatrics, they've now said again, and I can't stress this enough, the first line defense, a weekly injection for life. You are not supposed to go off of Ozempic. They are signing up 50% of 12-year-olds are overweight or obese, right near that number. They are jamming them into a injection for the rest of their life, an injection that was approved based on a 68-week study that did not take into account muscle mass, which is getting depleted by this drug. That a study where the panel that approved it at the FDA was paid by Novo Nordisk itself, a study that with pharma as the top funder of news ads has been unquestioned on the mainstream news. This is what I help do, and this is what's happening.